Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, organics of... Apologies. Of all ages. I am Double R, and in this particular video, we are going to be speaking about the furry community versus the LoliSho community. How we got here, is there any way we can fix this, whatever.
I was out, please God. I know I was out.
Logic over emotion. Focus.
Emotions are not an adequate tool for judging reality.
Okay, so let's get into some basics. Each side has their enemies. The LoliSho side have 4 enemies, the furry side has 2. I wish I was joking. Let me break it down. Both sides have the Antis. These are people who will react emotionally to things. They'll twist facts and figures. They typically go with the correlation equals causation arguments, the slippery slope arguments. If you're partaking in this, you're going to be doing that. That kind of logic. That's the Antis. The Normies, the next step down, are pretty much those who find it weird. Normies don't like the LoliSho shit because they're not the standard cartoons, they don't look like the comics. It's weird. So of course the LoliSho shit, weirder. In terms of furries, however, that's just weird. Because it's weird. You got them walking around in LGBTQ pride parades and all that. It's weird. They find it weird. It's not normal. That's how they see it, that's how they view it.
You can only be surprised if you have zero self-awareness. I hope this isn't the first time someone's telling you this, but what you do is weird. Is it hurting anyone? No. Is it harmful to yourself? No. But it's weird. It's people who get together because they love dressing up in animal costumes. Sometimes there's a sexual component to it, but I'm told that most of the time there isn't. Doesn't matter. It's still weird, and you should know it's weird. Bronies? Weird. People who dress up in Star Wars costumes and wait in line for movie premieres? Weird. People who LARP? Weird. You're fucking weird, and that's fine, but you should also know that you're going to get made fun of, and not be a little bitch about that.
Like I've said in previous videos, vigilantism in RPGs is pretty cringeworthy and nothing good ever comes out of it. But this story was originally posted on 4chan, so being a socially ill-adjusted dickhead is kinda par for the course. Overall, I don't know a lot about furries. I've talked to a few of them and they all seem to be pretty cool people, but I haven't educated myself about furry society. So my perspective is 100% from the outside looking in. All I know for sure is that there are good ones and that there are bad ones. And just like any other online community, they are almost 100% defined by the actions of the bad ones. One aspect about these bad furries that really annoys me, that I don't really see being talked about, is their sense of entitlement partnered with this persecution complex. If you're only here for the story, go ahead and skip ahead because this rant is gonna be a long one. I don't have too many interactions with furries when I'm online, but even I've seen this exact scenario happen multiple times. A furry starts doing weird furry shit. A normie says they don't like said weird furry shit. And then the furry goes nuclear. I believe that furries have the right to engage in their weird and creepy shenanigans if it doesn't hurt anyone. But on the other hand, everyone else has the right to think that your weird and creepy shenanigans are weird and creepy. You aren't being persecuted, you're being told no. And everyone has the right to say no. You do not have the right to just show up in a Discord server and turn the general chat into a fetish roleplay channel, and you do not have the right to just start humping legs in a D&D game. If just dropping weird sex shit in people's laps is so ingrained in your identity that you interpret people getting uncomfortable as discrimination, well, maybe it's time to take a good hard look at your identity. Look, this isn't a bully the furries video, and I don't want anyone thinking that it is. So I'm just gonna say it again. Good furries exist. But just because there is good doesn't mean you should ignore the bad. If I have one perfectly healthy leg, but the other one is being gnawed on by a honey badger, I'm not going to ignore all the blood I'm losing and say, oh, it's okay, good legs exist. No, motherfucker, I'm going to use my healthy leg to kick the badger in the face before it bites off my foot.
That's a good example of what I mean. Next step down for the LoliSho side, happens to be the furries. The reason for this is simple. The major differential between the two is that hard line of fiction and reality. There's a hard line. In case of LoliSho, they are hard in fiction. They don't try to move into reality in any way, shape, or form. They keep it in fiction. This is why their characters have big ass windshield eyes, and it's just weird. Fucking bobbleheads. Put them off! Back on point. And unfortunately for the furry side, there's a lot of them, not all, hashtag, but not all of them, but there's a few of them, and it's a growing number, and there are some that are notable that are trying to push furry into reality. So it ain't just fiction, they're pushing it into reality. We'll get more into that in a minute. And last on the LoliSho side happens to be the no-R Pedrophiles. Why? Well, like we stated about the furries being against them, the LoliSho side is very fiction. They stay in fiction. So when the no-R Pedrophiles decide to DM or whisper a member of that community going, well, you know, I actually have some CP for you. The LoliSho community reacts viscerally. The person who gets the DM points it out, they put it on blast, and they go, hey, this guy's a no-R Pedrophile, what the fuck is this? And everyone in that side in the community just goes nuts on them, just beats them down. They react like Normies and Antis do when they run across a no-R Pedrophile. They lose their shit. Now some of you are thinking, wait a minute, Double R, hold on. But the Antis told me specifically that the LoliSho side will inevitably become the no-R Pedrophiles because of Ted Bundy and yada blah blah blah. Yeah, the same motherfucker who said that also put this up.
Justified in their heads that it's okay as long as it's not real. It's not real isn't a fucking excuse. Calling lolicons pedophiles is like calling people who like shooting games school shooters. This argument sounds good on paper until you examine it further and realize, no, it's not. There's a very clear distinction between playing a video game and masturbating to depictions of children. Fetishes and video games serve two very different purposes. The purpose of a fetish or a kink is to fulfill some deep-seated fantasy you have. People don't play shooting games for the purpose of fulfilling a fantasy or because they enjoy the actions being committed. So let's take, for example, an animation of a snuff film of a fake character being brutally murdered, tortured, and raped by another fake character, all for the sexual pleasure of the viewer. Is that film now okay because it's not real? You see, this is where the it's not real argument loses all of its value. The fact that something isn't real doesn't change a fucking thing, and it doesn't justify anything morally. Lolly isn't inherently wrong, but the audience it's attracting is what makes it wrong. People play video games for the story, the graphics, the characters, the gameplay, and also, these shooting games don't encourage you to shoot innocent civilians. You're supposed to go after the bad guys. The same can't be said for Lolly. Lolly serves the purpose of fulfilling a fantasy. Video games don't. You also don't need real children to be a pedophile. It can be any sort of child imaginable, and you would still be a pedophile. In order to be a school shooter, the action would need to have already been committed in real life. It can't be a fictional thing.
It seems like he has something he wants to tell the class, but he doesn't want to say it out loud. Let's just leave that where it is. Moving on. Having said that, we go back to the furry community because that's the topic of the discussion. When I stated that the furry side tries to move from fiction to reality, some of y'all are going, nah, you're joking. Am I? Am I really? Well, those of you in the fighting game community, tell me something. Have you heard of a player known as SonicFox?
Okay, and the game award goes to SonicFox, everybody.
Wow. I really won this shit. Oh my god. Hey, look, Mom. I guess I want to say this is a big honor. I kind of just really enjoy playing video games competitively. I've never really done it for the fame. I kind of just enjoy the rush of like beating people up, you know? Like, I don't know, like even like, I'm sure you guys heard the story of when I won the IPS finale. The other thing I don't do this for is for the money. It's because when my best friend, one of my closest friends, oh my god, I'm nervous. His dad had cancer, and after I won, before I even like did the match, I told him whether I win or lose, I'm gonna be donating at least like 10K of the prize winning to his father for his stage 3 cancer. And I hope it works out for him. And he really I'm so nervous. I've never been this nervous. This is more scary than I on Evo. But I mean, I guess I've always just done it just to make new friends and bonds in the community. So I guess for now, I want to give a shout out to obviously the team that's helped me do all the way Echo Fox. I want to give a shout out to all my friends back at home. My best friend, the Kill Sage, he's helped me out so much through life. Again in Black, the goons back at home, gang. As you guys also may know or may not know, I'm also super gay. So I mean, I want to give a shout. So I want to give a super shout out to all my LGBTQ plus friends that have always helped me through life. Obviously, I'm a furry, so shout out to the furries. I've been any furries in the community here. Yeah. Guess all I gotta really say is that I'm gay, black, a furry, pretty much everything a Republican hates, and the best esports player of the year, I guess. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that guy. That's interesting what he was wearing, wasn't it? Peculiar, that. Now, if this was a one-off thing, if it was just that person doing this, fine. I wouldn't have an issue. However,
Here's something that happened a couple of months ago that I've been too busy to talk about, but it doesn't matter that it's old news because I think the main point is pretty timeless. In December, at a furry convention, someone dumped chlorine into a stairwell, sending a number of people to the hospital and forcing the hotel to be evacuated. They cleaned it up that same night and sent everyone back into the hotel. Almost all the people who were sent to the hospital were cleared that night to go back, but the next morning on MSNBC's Morning Joe program, this happened.
19 people were hospitalized at a furry convention in Illinois after what's being called an intentional leak of chlorine
What's
gas.
a furry convention?
Did I get that wrong?
Oh, gosh.
Okay, officials were called when a strong odor of chlorine spread.
think they had to evacuate the building and everything. Sent the hotel guests along with convention attendees into the cold night, many still dressed in their furry costumes.
We have a lot of costumers out here with big fluffy costumes that'll keep people warm, so at this point, we're not at all worried.
So we've been pulling people into a cuddle to warm this baby.
No. Thank you.
And giving her our jackets and blankets.
Yes.
We just told Mika what the convention was about.
So, Mika Brzezinski breaks down laughing, as does this other goober. I don't know his name, I only know Mika's name because it was in the article I read. And yeah, people were sick. Someone may have maliciously did something at the hotel, though 2 months later there have been no arrests and no updates to this story, and it's a hotel. They probably have a pool. Maybe some idiot cleaner dumped chlorine into a stairwell on their way to clean the pool, didn't say anything because they'd be fired, but I'm not going to deny that it definitely could have been malicious, and some sick asshole was attacking furries, which is definitely a scumbag move. But she's clearly not laughing about people being sick, or the fact that there was a terrorist attack, as some furries have suggested. She's laughing about people in ridiculous costumes standing around outside of a hotel. But of course, a bunch of people got pissy. There was a petition to have her release a public apology, which I couldn't find any follow-up about, so I assume that didn't happen.
Now again, I don't care what consenting adults do. Granted, it's weird, but it's consenting adults. I mean, hell.
Right. What's your name?
My name's Taylor. What's your name?
I'm Nicole.
Hi, Nicole. So what kind of hobbies are you into?
I have an aquarium, a 55-gallon aquarium.
Oh, what? That's wicked.
Are we just not going to address that?
Nicole, are you not going to address the elephant in the room?
What elephant? He's a wolf, idiot.
I am a furry.
What is a furry?
The way that I describe it is a fascination or a interest of animals doing human things.
Is it a sex thing?
It is definitely not just a sex thing.
Not just a sex thing. Not just.
Poor little guy. He's been sick for so long, and I feel so badly for him. Little buddy is in so much pain. I'm afraid the only option we have left is,
Miss Livingston, this is an adult human being inside of an animal costume.
Can't you see that he's in pain? He's my pet, and it's my decision. And my decision is I want to end his suffering.
I see. And what is he suffering from exactly?
Well, look at him.
I tell you this every time you come in here, Mrs. Livingston. This is your son, Kurt, a 24-year-old adult human male, and I can't euthanize a 24-year-old adult human male.
Actually, it's Fire Dash.
Right.
I'm a pyrofox from the forest planet.
No, you don't understand.
In the kingdom
Fire
of Fire
Dash is sick. He's been sick. He's been sick a long time.
Not shallow. Dude showed up in a whole-ass fursuit. On the first date. I do not break out the Vaporeon onesie until at least the third date.
Case in point. So, as long as it stays as consenting adults, I have no beef.
Bluey. With that, we can make the Bluey family do anything.
I've always dreamt we'd struggle, Snuggle!
What is going on?
Let's make Bluey and Bingo some siblings!
I'll help you, mate. Eat your vegetables. Pop. No! Pop, 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 pop. Gang pop. It's okay. It's okay. Daddy's got you. Daddy's got you.
Bandit?
No, it's okay. This fella obviously made a mistake. He was clearly looking for these, big teddies who explode strawberry jam and put a stop to their Vaseline and tissue smuggling operation. You know what, girls? I'd say you learned a valuable lesson too.
He did?
Yeah, it's just like when you wouldn't eat your veggies, Bluey. This bloke came in here and tried to kill us based solely on how we looked, before getting to know who we were on the inside. But I think he's learned now to, and say it with me, girls, to never judge a book by its cover.
It is true. To my shame, I acted rashly. Had I properly researched your true nature, I'd have realized you're not furries, but in fact, unsentient dog mutants in clear possession of latent psychic abilities. Thank you for the lesson.
A group of about 75 protesters showed up to Nebo Middle School today. They say it's an issue over students who call themselves furries. But how much of that discontent is fueled by rumor? Our Sarah Murphy asked that question. She's here with what she found out. Sarah, what's this all about?
All right, Brian. Well, the term furry, it refers to someone interested in animals with human qualities. Now, they dress up like this as a cartoon version of an animal. Now, we've learned there have been reports at Nebo Middle School that students are getting mistreated over this topic.
There was some kids dressed up as animals, and I heard that another kid got bit by one of them.
There's a lot of speculation surrounding the protest that happened at Nebo Middle School Wednesday morning. Nearly 75 students and parents showed up facing the school, saying they're unhappy with how administration is handling reports of harassment.
Okay.
You guys cannot record me without my permission! This is video a Nebo Middle School student took last week. Parents say there's an issue between some students and others who call themselves furries, or people who enjoy dressing up as cartoonish animals.
Back when I went to school, you know, you couldn't dress that way, you couldn't do certain things, and I think it kind of needs to go back a little bit. Like, I know kids need their own personalities, but it's ridiculous when kids are dressing like animals and licking and biting people. I just don't think that's okay.
But the Nebo School District tells us it's not that extreme. Seth Sorensen says no one was scratching or biting anyone, and that there are a lot of untrue rumors going around.
It actually is not something that's been occurring. In fact, a lot of the information that's been put out there is completely incorrect and inaccurate, and so we're still trying to get on top of that.
Thank you. This is Strudel, a member of the furry fandom. Though they've been a furry for over a decade, they have their own opinions.
It's crazy that it's escalated to this point where these kids are being so distracting to their peers that their peers want to stage a walkout. So to have, you know, the next generation kind of muddy our name and not represent it very well, it is kind of disappointing.
Strudel believes there should be some limits.
Continue doing things you like, continue dressing up, continue making art, but maybe let's keep it outside of school hours.
As for the school, Sorensen says they have one main goal.
We want every student to feel safe when they come to school, and we want students to get along. In fact, we want adults to get along.
Okay, so the district says they've worked with some students whose dress and appearance they say might be disruptive to the school environment. They say they do invite parents to talk with administration to learn more about how they're handling the situation. Brian, back to you.
Okay. Now I have a beef. And it's not just because there's kid furries running around, because cub porn and bronies with the clopping and all that bullshit. No. Some of y'all are going to sit there and go, bronies aren't furries. You can say that. You can sit here and give 3-hour dissertation about how the furry community has certain things that line up. Normies won't care. Antis won't care. In fact, it's going to be viewed kind of like this.
I tell you this every time you come in here, Mrs. Livingston. This is your son, Kurt, a 24-year-old adult human male, and I can't euthanize a 24-year-old adult human male.
Actually, it's Fire Dash.
Right.
I'm a pyrofox.
Yeah, it don't matter. Now, I do get it. I understand there's different subcultures within a community. There's the brony community. There's the suitors, or fursuits, or whatever they're called. There's those who use acronyms.
I'll be teaching you guys some ways that my friends and I meow to one another to communicate when words just seem a little too difficult.
Okay, so words are too difficult and the move to make is to meow. If this isn't the most counterproductive stupid shit I've ever heard. As a cat owner, I can attest to this. I don't know what the hell my cat wants. And he meows all the time. I haven't got a clue what Smokey wants. I'm like, what is it, dude? Take me to the problem. And sometimes I think about shooting him. I'm dying.
So, here we go. Okay, so first off we have the normal meow that we just use mostly to get each other's attention. Meow.
Really? Why not just say hey or tap the person? You don't even need words.
Okay, then we have the dissatisfied meow.
Oh, really?
Then the angry meow, but we only use this one on rare occasions because overall we're a very happy kitten family.
Thank Christ America is over the seas. Thank God. If there's a God in heaven, that's the only thing that has kept us from being conquered by China. If you think for a minute this kitten family would be able to hold out against the communist regime, you got another thing coming.
Then the happy or content meow. Meow.
I bet she's on LSD.
Okay, then one of the most important ones for our kitten family is the I want to go potty meow. It took me a really long time to master this meow because it needs to be really specific in order for my kittens to understand. Meow, meow, meow.
Oh my Christ! Why can't you just say I'm going to the bathroom?
There's the Otherkin.
Whatever, I'm solid. I mean, I make fun of religion, but as long as people aren't storming universities or newspaper offices or museums and killing people in the name of their storybook, or stopping 13-year-old me on the street to try and get me to invite them to my house on a Wednesday afternoon, I don't have an actual problem with religion. When it comes to sexual orientation, I say fuck whoever or whatever you want, as long as it's consenting. And remember, horses can't say yes, no matter how much peanut butter you rub on their gums. And I believe in treating all races equally as bad as you treat your own. After all, almost all of my worst enemies are white. But there are some things I just don't have any fucking patience for. And otherkin are one of those things. What's an otherkin? Those of you who have managed to avoid Tumblr ask? Well, they are people who believe they are not human. At least, not completely. They believe themselves to share the spirit, soul, and or mind of an often mythical animal. Unicornkin or dragonkin, for example, believe they are part unicorn or part dragon. They believe they are partially a creature that has never existed outside of a fairy tale or D&D handbook. But it doesn't always have to be mythical. At first, I just thought these were some lonely attention seekers on the internet. People who probably grew up as that kid at school no one notices, no one cares about. You know the one. The ones that even the shittiest bullies kind of feel bad about picking on, and so they take to the internet, longing to be paid attention to by creating personas that will result in people giving them some sort of attention, positive or negative, and finding other like-minded nobodies sharing their fantasy life with them. I was convinced this had to be the case because a logical, mentally stable person couldn't possibly believe that they are part centaur. I mean, I guess technically we're all part centaur, but not the ass end. But then I see this post, sent to me by a friend who I'm sure found it on Reddit. Now, maybe this is role-playing. Maybe this person is just a person at a computer writing a story. If they are, they've done a great job of convincing me that they're an insane person, so congratulations if this is just trolling. They get a question from a fellow Therian, basically an Otherkin, but who also believes that they can shift into another animal, because I guess Twilight's shirtless boys made this popular again. I heard that you had lost a job because of your therianthropy. Is that true? I want to learn about these obvious cases of harassment and discrimination of Therians/Otherkin. I need to stop right there for a moment. You are not being harassed or discriminated against because you can't discriminate against things that aren't real. If you want to say that, I heard you lost your job because of your mental illness in which you believe yourself to be a werewolf, we can talk about discrimination against handicapped, differently abled, whatever the PC term is this week, that will be considered offensive next week. Anyway, this person confirms that they did in fact lose their job because of my identity. This person is sick to death of people dismissing instances of Otherkin discrimination. Well, here's one more apparently, and oh yes, oppression. Getting fired from the grocery store for being fucking weird, and spoiler alert, but that's how this story ends in case you couldn't fucking guess, is very much the same as slavery or not allowing women to vote. They paint us a vivid and painful picture. The year was 2008. They were a youthful werewolf, only awakened 3 years prior. Surprise, around the time they were 15, 2 years into high school, you can draw your own conclusions. And they got a job at a grocery store, which was good, because it fit in with their naturally nocturnal lifestyle, which, as you know, most nocturnal beings are up and doing stuff with 6 to 8 hours of daylight. And they have a severe social anxiety disorder, which is important that they can recognize because it suggests that they might be at least somewhat self-aware. Anyway, so he or she, we're never told, is having a bit of difficulty with the job due to not being physically strong, which suggests the grocery store's hiring manager sucks at their job. And on top of that, they're starting to get annoyed because people are approaching them to ask about Pepsi, which isn't his or her job. Someone else handles the Pepsi. They just deal with the Coke, or maybe the Faygo, or the fucking RC Cola, or whatever shit they got. So, after the fourth or so person, the M shift I'd been fighting for what felt like hours took over. That's right, the beast is loose. I experienced strong feelings of fight or flight, which resulted in some vocalizations, particularly growling and snarling, and a stooped, digitigrade posture as I continued to fight with myself as best I could internally to regain my composure and finish my job. It really felt like my human mask was crumbling through my fingers. Don't they mean paws? But again, this insane idea that they're not actually human, despite having 2 human parents, assuming maybe the family dog didn't get a few pumps in while dad wasn't looking. Though it's a little hazy, because my focus was internal at the time. I believe I may have frightened some of the customers who came into the aisle during this. You think maybe while some person was just trying to get some pop at 6 in the fucking morning and found you snarling and growling while hunched over a stack of grape soda, they thought that you might be a little off-putting? Gee, I can't imagine why. The next day, however, when I went in, the night manager called me into her office and asked what happened. I saw no reason go hide the truth. You saw no reason? None at all? So I told her about my non-human identity and the basics of what shifting is, and that it sometimes happens to a degree where I can't hold it back. She didn't really ask me any questions about it, but gave a look that I can only interpret as an "I'm not so sure you're well" look. And then she suggested to me that maybe this job wasn't the right one for me. First good decision the managers made. My first job, and it was gone because of my identity. No, it was gone because you were barking at a bottle of Shasta.
There's the this, there's the that. Yeah, Otherkin count with the furries too, because they do take on the pronoun of a furry animal, even though it doesn't technically exist sometimes. Yeah, that's the problem. Most normies will see all this as a furry kind of community thing, in general. Period. Bar none. There is nothing that the furries are going to be able to say or do that convince the normies, oh no, there's this and there's that. No, they see it as a blanket.
Sonic! What's going
Kind of like how they see anime as a blanket, and since LoliShos is an anime, all anime is the same to them as LoliSho.
Another thing they advocate for is the legalization of drawn CP. Now, I don't really know where I stand on this. Drawings are not real. Just like fantasy or roleplay or whatever, nobody's getting hurt, and the main concern is children being hurt or exploited. Whether looking at material like that is harmful, that's like a whole different debate, a whole different video. But like, look, I can literally draw a stick figure right now. Ready? Let's give her big milkers. There we go. Awooga, right? Well, she's under 18. There are federal agents at your door.
That's the same mentality that they put on the furries. Again, the problem the furries are having is members of their community are trying to push it into reality. Even on TikTok.
I am pronouns. It sounds literally like I am. I've been trying to find pronouns that fit better for me. This is an obvious troll. But this woman's so far gone, she thinks it's a real question.
Hi, my name is Cameron and I'm a member of our DID system. So Avery and I are both birds. I am a cardinal and Avery is a blue jay.
What?
So Avery and I are both birds. I am a cardinal and Avery is a blue jay.
Right. How far have we fallen? Remember back in the old days? And when I say the old days, I mean like the early 2000s. If you ran around saying you're a bird or blue jay, some dude in a white van would catch you with a net and take your ass away.
We like AM air pronouns in particular because they feel even further removed from gender than they, them, theirs.
Oh my God, the stuff people got to, like the freedom you have to sit there, right? Think of how good your life is. In other countries, you're out there, you're probably walking miles to get water. Women in other countries do that. This chick was like, they, them is just too human.
Like AM air pronouns in particular because they feel even further removed from gender than they, them, theirs. And being birds, while we do have...
How do you come to the conclusion that you're like a cardinal and a blue jay? You can't fly. This is too far gone. It's too far. At least with puppy and kitten self, you have the excuse of not being able to fly. These kids are lucky I'm not the father. Because if she came in and she's like, or ARM there, I'm a blue jay, Dad. I go, let me see you fly.
Our own gender expression, we don't inherently have a gender.
Why aren't you in a tree living in a nest?
And not in the way that, like, we're just non-binary.
How did birds lose their gender? Did birds stop having gender when it comes to, like, bored Zoomers on TikTok praying to God someone notices them? Notice how, like, the neo-pronouns get more wild as time progresses, and it hasn't been that long. I've been paying attention to this for, like, a year or two, and the neo-pronouns get crazier. The neo-pronouns for Zoomers are like escalations of drugs. Back in the day when you had a social life and you hung out with people, you started off with like pot. Then you started taking pills. Then you moved to cocaine. If you were real hard, you got into heroin or meth or speed, but speed's still a meth. You know what I'm talking about. And then at some point you ended up with rehab and you met Scott Weiland and you turned your life around. The kids today, 1 minute it's puppy kitten self, then it's ARME program, pronouns, whatever.
It's that, like, our species as, like, an avian-human hybrid does not inherently have any kind of gender at all.
You're not an avian-human hybrid. You can't fly. If these people could fly, I'd let it go. Tomorrow, if I see a person flying with cardinal wings, I'll be like, all right then.
So this comes back to, why do the furry community members attack the LoliSho community? Even though they use the same exact talking points as the Antis, which the talking point, for those who don't understand, is correlation equals causation, slippery slope mentality. Because you do A, you're going to be B. Furries use the same talking point against the LoliSho. But when it gets used back on them, they're like, no, that never happens. Let's just skip that. Okay? Most normies are going to see all that in the same vice. All that in the same sphere. All that in the same topic. Do you understand what I'm getting at? So every person who's screwing you furries over by trying to push it into reality, it is a constant thing. So I get why you would argue with the LoliSho side, but here's the thing. Even though there's some similarities between y'all, the LoliSho community keeps it straight fiction. They do not pass that line. While for the furry community, y'all think it's okay to go past that line. Not all of you, but enough of you to be noticed. And it's not a good look. So, with that being said, for the furry community, remember, the LoliSho side aren't like y'all in that case. They're hard fiction. Fiction is fiction. They don't move past it. They actually get viscerally angry about real versions from the Pedros files with the noir. They actually lose their shit over it. Y'all don't lose your shit about furry community members trying to push it into reality. Y'all just get upset when people laugh or people point out, hey, why are kids having to deal with this? Or things of that nature. Y'all get upset at that, but you don't get upset about the person pushing furry into reality. Again, consenting adults, I don't give a damn. So before y'all start raising your pitchforks and running towards the LoliSho, you might want to realize that your community has people pushing things into reality. Their community actually stomps out folks who try to do that shit in reality. There's a hard difference. Please focus. Please police your own fandom. Please police your own group, your own community, before you get on high horses and all that bullshit and try to spite someone else down. Okay? That'd be great. And maybe talk to some of your community about keeping that shit out of the schools. Just seriously. That whole meme about needing a litter box in a school, it's coming closer and closer to reality every day because furries are in the schools now. I could say leave the kids alone. This side says, no problem, boss. And this side goes, but they're only cubs. They have a right to express themselves. Before you morally grandstand on something, fix your community. I don't believe I have to say this, but here we are. But with that said and done, I should be completely finished with this topic. And never again will I have to deal with it. Be well. And I'm out. This way I can talk about the other stuff I actually want to talk about and get back to my Cat and Power reviews. Ugh! But at least it's done. It's done. It's done. The only way out was through, and I went through! Yeah!
The end.